Okay, this is section 7.5. We're going to start factoring. The first thing that we're going to factor, first type of polynomial, will be when the leading coefficient is 1. So when you put it in standard form, your first coefficient in the term with the highest degree is your leading coefficient. So A is your leading coefficient. In this case, it's always going to be 1. We'll learn how to factor when you have a leading coefficient that's different than 1 later on. Okay, so something that you always need to remember to do, and hopefully you won't have to learn the hard way, that you should always, always, always factor the greatest common factor out. It's still possible, but it makes factoring so much easier if you pull that greatest common factor out. Okay, so this is factored form. The second, this is a binomial, 2 terms, and this is the factored form. So take just a minute and look at the relationship between the two. It's the same equation, but different forms. So kind of look and see if you can find any patterns. So if you look, let me take a highlighter here. The product, that's an eraser, the product of the last 2 terms is equal to the last term of the trinomial. So 2 times 3 is 6. Okay? If you also look, let's go back to a pen. If you also look at the relationship, if you add these together, they equal the center term. 2 plus 3 is 5. So that's the relationship between the two. So I'm going to give you some steps now. So here are some steps to factoring. Again, you have to pull out the greatest common factor if there is one. If there isn't one, you ask yourself, how many terms do I see? So I'm going back to the greatest common factor again because I can't say it enough times. If there is one, you're going to pull that out and pull it to the outside and put parentheses around what's left. When you have a trinomial, when you get to a point where you have a trinomial with your leading coefficient of 1, follow the following steps. The first thing you're going to do is find factors of the last term with the sum of the middle term, and then you just separate them into 2 binomials. When you practice this, you're going to be able to get better at it, but when you first start, it takes a while. So we're looking for factors of 10 that when you add them together equal negative 11. So if it helps you to make a list of factors of 10, so we have 5 and 2, negative 5 and negative 2, but when you add those together, they don't equal negative 11. So I have 10 and 1, I have negative 10 and negative 1, and there I found it, because negative 10 and negative 1 together equals that center term. So you're going to divide those like this into 2 binomials, and that's factored form. So let's look at number 2. We're looking for factors of the last term. Well, first of all, let's go down the list. You can't pull out the greatest common factor. We already have our leading coefficient right there is 1. So let's go ahead and let's list the factors of negative 10 now. So I have negative 5 and positive 2, and I have that equals negative 3. I have 2, negative 2 and positive 5, that equals positive 3. I have negative 10 and positive 1, that's negative 9. Let's flip them around. I have 10 and negative 1. That will give me the 9 I need in the middle. So we're going to split them up into 2 binomials, x plus 10 and x minus 1. There's your factored form. All right, this next one, we need factors of 1 that when you add them together, they equal 2. So you don't have much choice here. 1 times 1, right? 1 and 1. When you add them together, you get 2. So I have h plus 1, quantity h plus 1. Okay? Number 4, we're looking at factors of -6 that when you add them together equal -5. So I have -3 and +2 because you have to have a negative number. That's not going to work. How about +3 and -2? When you add those together, you have 1. So I only have a couple options here. I have -6, +1. There you go. When you add them together, they equal -5, which is the center term. So I have h minus 6, quantity h plus 1. There's your factored form. 2 more. I guess I didn't add those. All right, I'm going to add them on the bottom. So number 5 is j squared plus 21j plus 110. Okay, let's think of factors of 110. We could start with 1 and 110. That's not going to get us anywhere. We can go 2 and 55. If we put 10 in, 10 times 11 is 110, and if you add them up together, they equal 21. So there we go. So I have j plus 10, quantity j plus 11. All right, the last one on your page is j squared minus j minus 6. So I'm looking for factors of -6. So -6 and 1, that's not going to get us a -1, but -3, 2 will get us a -1 that we need for the center term. So I'm going to have j minus 3, j plus 2. Okay, I'm going to talk about a trick that you can use in your calculator to find factors of super big numbers. Okay, so if you hit the y equals button and you put the big number in. So if you're putting in 110, you put that in, hit the y equals button, and then you hit second. Well, I'm sorry, you want to divide that by x. So you put 110 divided by x, and then you're going to hit the second graph, and it'll give you a table of all the factors. This includes some decimals, and you just kind of got to scroll through it and look for the highest one or the one that you're looking for. So if you're struggling finding factors of big numbers, that's a helpful way on your calculator. I can show you in class if you need some help with that. That's it.